Telen Cephalon, that is hemisphere of brain. This is right and left hemisphere, yes. Telencephalon consists of brain cortex or pallium, basal ganglion, and in your textbook, white matter, and in new classification, the same speak about basal part of hemisphere, basal ganglion and basal part of hemisphere. Today we will speak only about brain cortex. Brain cortex, it's that is gray matter on the surface of hemisphere. It makes a lot of grooves and gyri between them. Okay. And we can see three surfaces. This is superolateral surface. Here it is, help me, what is this surface? Medial surface. And this one, inferior surface. 5 lobes. This is frontal, parietal, occipital, temporal. How many? 4. And 5th lobe is inside of this groove. This is sulcus lateralis, and if we move walls of this groove, we will see the brain cortex. I show you this way. That is this brain cortex, which is inside of lateral groove in sulcus lateralis. That is island, insula. That is 5th isolated lobe inside of sulcus lateralis. Only name of this lobe you need to know. Insula, island. Now we start to speak about frontal lobe. Between frontal and parietal lobe we can see central groove, sulcus centralis, and between frontal and temporal lobe, sulcus lateralis. And in front from sulcus centralis, this is sulcus precentralis. And gyrus between them, that is precentral gyrus, gyrus precentralis. That is cortical center of motor analyzer. That is proprioceptive sensitivity come here, and from this gyrus start voluntary movements. For example, thank you. All voluntary, I want to put my stick on the table. I want to take it. That is voluntary movement. It starts from gyrus precentralis. That is pyramidal tracts, if you remember. Cortica spinalis and cortical nuclearis. Next. This is superior frontal sulcus and inferior frontal sulcus. And between them, 3 gyri, superior, middle, and inferior frontal gyri. Gyrus frontalis superior, gyrus frontalis medius, and gyrus frontalis inferior. Middle frontal gyrus in posterior part, this place, that is center of writing, or motor center of the written speech. In middle part of the same gyrus, center of movement of the neck and eyes. Inferior frontal gyrus has 2 branches, ramus anterior and ramus ascendens. They start from sulcus lateralis and subdivide inferior frontal gyrus into 3 parts. This is pars orbitalis, this triangular part, pars triangularis, and behind of ramus ascendens, this place is pars opercularis. And now, triangular part and opercular, pars triangularis and opercularis together, that is Broca's center, or center of speech articulation, possibility to speak. That is frontal lobe. Now we speak only about superolateral surface. Then we continue middle and inferior surface. Now only superolateral. Next, parietal lobe. Behind of central groove, it has post-central sulcus, sulcus postcentralis, And this gyrus is gyrus post centralis. It is center of skin analyzer. Feeling of what? Touch. Stereognosis also here. Feeling of temperature, pain. Well, next, all another parietal lobe with the help of sulcus intraparietal groove, subdivides into two lobules, superior parietal lobule and inferior parietal lobule. Superior lobule has the same function like gyrus post centralis, skin analyzer. Inferior lobule, it is, look here, this is lateral groove sulcus lateralis, and sulcus lateralis finish in inferior parietal lobule, and this gyrus, which is surround end of lateral groove, this gyrus, is supramarginal gyrus supramarginalis. It is center of practical skills. Then, sulcus temporalis superior, the same comes to inferior parietal lobule, and this gyrus is gyrus angularis. Gyrus angularis, that is center of reading, possibility to see and understand written speech. Clear? Next, temporal lobe. Temporal lobe has two grooves, sulcus temporalis superior and sulcus temporalis inferior, and three gyri, gyrus temporalis superior, medius, and inferior. Superior temporal gyrus in upper part here, this is upper part of superior temporal gyrus. It has specific name, that is gyrus temporalis transversus, and this place, that is cortical center of auditory analyzer, center of hearing. Then, posterior part of superior temporal gyrus, this one, posterior part of superior temporal gyrus, that is center of the speech, possibility to understand speech, sensory or auditory center of speech. And middle part of gyrus temporalis medius and gyrus temporalis inferior, that is center of vestibular analyzer, vestibular, center of balance. Next, occipital lobe, occipital. In superlateral surface, we not describe grooves and gyri. Just name, that is occipital lobe, and border between occipital and parietal. This border in medial surface, that is sulcus parieta occipitalis, and this groove continues to superlateral surface, and we draw a line which separates occipital from parietal and from temporal. That is all in superlateral. Now we come to medial surface. It is corpus callosum, that is white matter. Next time we will speak a lot. Today only name. And above of corpus callosum we have groove sulcus corporis callosi. And above of this groove next is sulcus cinguli. And sulcus cinguli continues to superlateral surface, and this terminal part has name ramus marginalis, marginal branch, ramus marginalis. And again, this is sulcus corporis callosi, this is sulcus cinguli and ramus marginalis. Between them, this gyrus is gyrus cinguli, and it continues into isthmus, and this isthmus goes to inferior surface as gyrus parahippocampalis. In a minute I continue with this gyrus. Now, medial surface. Gyrus cinguli, this gyrus, that is part of superior frontal gyrus. It has part of this gyrus in superlateral surface, another part in medial surface, that is gyrus frontalis superior. Now, this part, that is lobulus paracentralis. This lobule, part of this lobule that is in the beginning of gyrus precentralis, and part of this lobule in the beginning of gyrus postcentralis, and together that is lobulus paracentralis. This lobule has the same function like precentral gyrus, that is motor analyzer, here and here. Next, this is ramus marginalis, if you remember.
Yes.
This is sulcus parieto-occipitalis, and this groove is subparietal groove, sulcus subparietalis, and between them this is precuneus. It is in parietal lobe. Now in occipital lobe, this is sulcus parieto-occipitalis. Next groove is sulcus calcarinus, and between them this is cuneus. It was precuneus and cuneus. Next gyrus, part of this gyrus on medial surface, another part in inferior surface. And here it is sulcus calcarinus, that is superior border, and inferior border, that is sulcus collateralis. Sulcus collateralis on inferior surface. Between these two grooves, calcarinus and sulcus collateralis, gyrus lingualis, looks like tongue, gyrus lingualis. And these two parts, gyrus lingualis and cuneus, here in both sides from sulcus calcarinus, here and here, that is cortical center of visual analyzer. Next, inferior surface. I remove from here brain stem, and now we continue to speak. If you remember, this is sulcus what? Corporis callosi. And continuation of this groove on inferior surface, here it is, that is sulcus hypocampi. What is hypocamp? Hypocamp, that is this structure in inferior horn of the lateral ventricle. Next time we will speak about lateral ventricle, and we continue to speak about hypocamp. And this groove near of hypocamp is sulcus hypocampi, and this groove, this one, that is continuation of sulcus collateralis. It was sulcus collateralis, and this sulcus continues into sulcus renalis. And now this gyrus, in space between sulcus hypocampi and sulcus renalis, this is gyrus parahippocampalis. And now this gyrus parahippocampalis finished with uncus. This uncus, that is cortical center of our olfactory analyzer. Olfactory analyzer, that is feeling of smell. One again, gyrus cinguli, isthmus, gyrus parahippocampalis, and uncus together, that is central part of Rhinen cephalon, and together they forms gyrus fornicatus. Gyrus fornicatus consists of gyrus cinguli, isthmus, gyrus parahippocampalis, and uncus. Next, what is this lobe? Temporal. Now we speak about inferior surface of temporal lobe, and here we have sulcus accipita temporalis. And this sulcus subdivides inferior surface into gyrus accipita temporalis medialis, and help me, gyrus accipita temporalis lateralis. And last, inferior surface in frontal lobe. This groove that is placed where we have olfactory bulb, olfactory tract, olfactory triangle, and anterior perforated substance. all of these structures together, they are peripheral structures of Rhinen cephalon, and olfactory bulb and tract, they are take place in sulcus olfactorius, and this gyrus which is between sulcus olfactorius and medial surface of hemisphere, that is gyrus rectus, straight gyrus rectus. Another grooves are sulci orbitalis, and gyri between them gyri orbitalis. Why they has name orbitalis? Because this part of the frontal lobe it's attached to orbital part of the frontal bone. Do you remember impressiones digitata in frontal bone? That is places where frontal lobe attached to frontal bone. That is all in model. That is all. One small gyrus which is inside of sulcus hypocampi, this is gyrus dentatus. Gyrus dentatus, the same like gyrus fornicatus, they are central part of Rhinen cephalon. And now what we can see in preparation.